Hey, my name is Stefan Bauer and I would like to show you how to build a contact form with Livewire by Caleb Porcio. I would like to give you a quick introduction about what we're gonna build. It's a contact form, a traditional contact form where the user can enter his name, his email address, his country, and kind of a body. Here is how it works. The user can enter his name, like Stefan, his mail address, like my mail address, select a country, and some body. Now the user can submit. As you can see, the form was submitted. If we reload the contact form and try it again, and let's say we leave out some fields, we have this error messages here below the fields. This is also something we will tackle in this video. I used the current Laravel 7 installation, which is not released yet. Additionally to that, I use Laravel Mix, Tailwind CSS, and of course Tailwind UI, which has been released a couple days ago by Adam Wathan and Steve Shoger, which I can highly recommend, and you should give it a shot. Let me show you in PHP where we are at the moment. We have this routes file. It's nothing special. We have a get route where we call the contact controller and the index method, and we have a post route on the same URL where we call the store method on the contact controller when this form has been submitted. If we take a look at this controller, we will see an index method and a store method. Here's nothing special, it's just regular stuff. You have an index method and you just return the view, and we have the store method where we validate some fields like name is required, email required, and email is necessary to be an email, country required, body required, and then we just log it to see that everything is working. And after the form has been submitted, we just redirect back with a success with form submitted. Let's take a look at the view file here. As you can see, this is regular Blade. We have a master layout and we have a body section. And above the form, we have this session section where we just take a look at the session and see if there is a success message. And if there is, we just echo it out. Below, there is this form action, regular stuff, CSRF token, a little bit of HTML boilerplate, and some error handling to show errors up when there is a problem. So our goal is now to migrate that over to a Livewire component. Actually, this is a really simple task. I already built a lot of complex things with Livewire, like table sorting, searching tables, filtering, modals, and so on. We really start easy, and if you like this video, there might be the chance that I will record more in the future. Something like what can Alpine.js do for us in this case, and how we can improve our HTML with the new Laravel 7.0 Blade components. This is Livewire. Livewire was published by Caleb Porcio with version 1.0 at Laracon Online. Here's something what Livewire is. As you can see, Livewire is a full-stack framework for Laravel that makes building dynamic interfaces simple without leaving the comfort of Laravel. In my experience, Livewire should only be used for things like where data is touching the server. If you would like to build something like a modal or a dropdown, I guess Alpine.js is a better fit for you. But the cool thing is, Livewire and Alpine.js can connect it seamless. Let's get started and install Livewire. Head over to your console and install Livewire. It's Composer, Require, Livewire, Livewire. So after Livewire has been installed, we can head back to our master file, which is here on the resources, views, layouts, master. And what's necessary to install Livewire is we have to include the Livewire styles. This is how it works. So Livewire styles, and additionally to that, we need Livewire scripts. That's it. Livewire is installed and Livewire is totally functional, so we can start using it. If you are already on Laravel 7, like me, we can replace this like this. Livewire colon styles, Livewire colon scripts. After we did it, we can now make our first Livewire component. Let's head back to the console and let's say PHP artisan make Livewire contact form. Now there are two new files. As you noticed, there is this Livewire folder here under the views directory, and we have under app HTTP also a new Livewire folder with a contact form PHP. So there are two files. There is one file, a PHP file for this component, and there's another file, a view file. These two files are connected together. So what we can do now is we open this, where is it? Contact index blade, which is our old HTML file. Let's cut it out and add it to the new contact form blade. This is here. So what is really important here is that Livewire needs a root element in this blade view. It's like Vue.js where a root element is just necessary. Take care of it. After that, we can go back to our old file, which is this. And now we just need to include this new Livewire component. And this can be easily done with something like Livewire contact form. This is also the old syntax, and if you are on Laravel 7 already, you can choose the new syntax. It's something like this. Livewire colon contact form. That's it. What else do we need to do? We need to copy over the old, let me open the old PHP stuff, the old contact controller. And let's move this code here into this one. And let's just create a public method for it. Let's call it submit. I will tell you later what it's for, and just copy it over. So we're done. Let's comment it out for now, like this. Okay. When you create a new Livewire component, there's nothing more than this render method. And in the render method, you just return the view of the Livewire component, like what you always do regularly in your Laravel application. Let's do a little bit of cleanup and head back to the contact controller, because this store method isn't needed anymore, so we just delete it. We will also delete our routes, at least the post route, because we handle it in a different way in the future. We go back to our new contact form blade and just clean it up a bit as well. That means we remove the form action and the form method. We remove the ID, name, and the value. The reason why I remove the ID is because there's currently a bug at Livewire, but I guess Caleb will fix it soon. So let's continue and remove it for email as well. It's kind of this. Let's remove it for country as well. It's like this one. And we can also remove this logic here, and this logic here, and this logic here. What else do we need? We need to remove the body, ID, and name as well. And we can remove this as well. Well, let me open the PHP class as well. It's like this one. And let me get rid of this. So now we need a way to bind values from the PHP class to our Livewire blade view. So what we're going to do is, on the contact form PHP class, we define all values we need in the contact form. Let's do this. It's a public name, public email, public country, and a public body. It's important that these properties are public. Only public properties are available in your Livewire component. Now let's add these properties to our Livewire blade component file. Let's start at this point. You can bind properties with wire model equals and name. So that means this input field with a name of name will be bind to this name over there in your PHP class. So let's do it for the rest of the file. Like here, an email address, wire model email. We have wire model country. And finally body. Now let me show you a bit of magic. Scroll up to the name. And let's do something like this. If name, else, and if. So what I would like to do is, I would like to show a message, something like, you didn't enter anything if there is no name. And if there is a name, let's show us the name. So this should be really easy. Div class empty2 text gray, maybe 600, and just echo out the name. And if there is no name present, let's echo out something else, something like you didn't enter a name. Show you what the result is. If we head back to our demo page and reload it, oh my gosh, there must something be wrong. Let's head back, go to master. Oh yeah, it's not Livewire script, it's Livewire scripts. So head back, reload. And this is something what I would like to show you. We have this, you didn't enter a name. And the cool thing now is, you can see you didn't enter a name because we didn't enter anything. But as you type, you see that it gets updated what we built. How is this possible? What Livewire is doing is just replacing the component. It's cool, isn't it? Now it's time to submit the form. Let's get back to PHP Storm and get back to our Livewire blade view. And to submit the form, we just do something like this. Wire, submit, prevent. And this is something you already know from Vue.js. On Vue.js, you would say on submit, prevent. Oh, here's a typo, it's prevent. And with wire submit dot prevent, we prevent the default behavior for submitting a form. And now we can enter a method that should be called on our PHP class. And as you can see, we named the method submit. Don't let that confuse you. There's wire submit.prevent, and now there could be a method name which could be anything. In our case, it's submit, but it could be really anything. The important thing here is that this method is available on your PHP class. So what we can remove is CSRF token because Livewire takes care of it. Let's take a look at our contact form PHP class. Let's comment out this one. And because Livewire works differently, we don't need the request here because there is no request actually. In the background, Livewire just replaces the component, so there is no request available. But what is still available is this validate method. It feels like the same like in Laravel, but it isn't. It's a custom validate method on Livewire, but it works exactly the same. Now let me show you a cool thing. Go back to our form and just submit. And isn't that really cool? We didn't do anything related to error handling. The only thing we did is we copied over the validate method from a regular validation method on a regular PHP controller to this submit method, and all the HTML stuff like this still working as before. So you won't have to change anything. The only thing which doesn't work is the redirect back with a success message. Let's handle that now. So just make it work. What we have to do now is, instead of returning back with a success message, we type something like this: session flash success form submitted. All right. Let's give it a shot and remove this one, and also make this work. And let's debug it and send the data through it and see what happens. Let's go back to Safari, reload, and enter something. Stefan, my email address, my country. Let me show you something. Let's say we leave this body empty and I submit. The cool thing now is the validation works. We get this validation error, but there's no need to make use of this old helper because there is no request. There's absolutely no request. So the page doesn't reload. You got it? So let's fill in the body example, and send it. And is that cool? There is this success message that the form has been submitted. And with any luck, let's take a look at the log. And there has been some errors, but there is it. Form submitted, custom logic here. And this is what we sent through the form. Awesome. Let's go back to Safari. You might have noticed that we have a little problem because as we submit it, the values keeps available. But thanks to Livewire, this can easily be handled. Let me show you how. Let's get back to PHP Storm. And the only thing you have to do is something like this. This reset. This reset method is responsible for resetting all the public values to the original state. If you like, you can pass a parameter into this method to reset one specific field. If you don't pass anything in it, it resets everything. Let's give it another shot. Reload. Stefan, mail, and Stefan about me, Germany, body. There we go. Awesome. Let's say we would like to have a default value on the country drop-down field. Let me show you how easy it is. Let's go back to PHP Storm. And there's a special method. This method is called mount. Let's add it. It's public mount. And in this mount method, you can assign values to specific attributes like this. This country equal DE. And if you head back to Safari and reload, as you can see here, the default value is now Germany, because this DE is the value of Germany. The last thing I would like to show you is when you hit the submit button, there is no indicator. There's nothing that shows the user, hey, here's happening something. Let's integrate this because it's really, really easy with Livewire. Back to PHP Storm. Let's move down where the button is. Here it is. I prepared already an SVG file, which I copied from the internet, pasted in. Let's move it there, correct place. And let's wrap the submit text with a span like this. And what else do we need? We need an item center here. We need a class there. Let's say 3. Might this be working? Number 2. Like this. Let's take a look. Yeah, looks good, I guess. The problem now is that it's shown now all the time. This is not what we want. What we want is that the indicator should show when we send the contact form. Ideally, the submit button will be disabled and the color changes while sending. Let's do it now. Let's get back to PHP Storm. There are some really awesome Livewire attributes we can use for that. Let's focus on the button first. Because we want to disable the button, there is an attribute called wire loading and let's say disabled. That just means that as soon there's a loading state, the attribute of this button gets disabled. That's it. Not more, not less. We can do the same for the class. Something like this. Wire loading class. What shall we put in there? Well, at the moment we are using BG Indigo 600, but in this case we would like to have a BG Indigo 500. But this doesn't work yet, because this doesn't override the current class. And the current class is, as I said, BG Indigo 600. There's another attribute, wire loading class remove. And this is something we need to remove the current class. Let's remove BG Indigo 600, because that's the current class we're using in this button component. And what we can do in the same time is if we go to our SVG, we can add something like wire loading. Wire loading means as soon there's loading something, show this element. If loading is done, don't show this element. This is the basic version like what we did above. There's wire loading, and instead of just showing or hiding it, we can set attributes, we can set classes, we can remove classes. The basic version is just wire loading, and then this element gets shown or not shown. Let's get back to our PHP file. Just to introduce here maybe, let's say here, a little sleep so we can see it better on Safari. So let's get back, reload. As you can see, there is no loading indicator yet. Let's fill out the form. Did you see it? While I type, there flickers this little indicator. Why is that the case? Because every time I type a letter, the component gets re-rendered and makes a request. And this request is loading. That's why there's this flickering. But we can solve it. Let me show you how. Back to our blade view. Did you remember on this form tag at the top here, we call this method on our PHP class. It's called submit. And we can react on this method while loading. That means following. If we scroll back to our button, we can just add something like this. Wire target submit. Same can use here. So this means all the wire loading states will just be used as long as the target is submit. So in other words, we bind the loading state to a specific action. Let's get back to Safari and check if it works. Type your name. As you can see, there is no flickering anymore. Type your email address and your body and submit. As you can see, it's disabled. There's its loading indicator. Sleeps 2 seconds, and after that the form is submitted, success message is shown, and everything is done. Hope you enjoyed it. This was a little introduction about Livewire, how easy it is, how easy it works. There are much more possibilities. This is a really easy example. I hope you enjoyed it, had fun, and let me know what I can improve. This is my first video, especially in English, and would love to get feedback on that. Have a nice weekend, and bye-bye.